Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking what is absolutely, hands down, the most critical structural shift we'll see in the digital content industry this decade. We're talking about the Libranch protocol. Now, just to be clear, we are not looking at some standard software update here. We're exploring a fundamental blueprint, one that's designed to secure massive, legally protected new revenue streams while literally shielding platforms from existential regulatory threats. It's a real game changer. To put things into perspective, the digital content landscape is currently caught between two massive extremes. On one side, the microdrama market. It's explosive, projected to hit $14 billion by 2026, growing at a breakneck pace, with hundreds of platforms just fighting tooth and nail for user attention. But on the flip side, there's a ticking time bomb. Up to 15 million euros, or 3% of global turnover. That's the impending fine under the EU AI Act for platforms that fail to comply with AI provenance regulations. So today is all about understanding how to capture that 14 billion while completely wiping out the risk of that 15 million. To keep us on track, our agenda today covers, first, the digital content crisis, then the patented Libranch protocol itself, third, how we monetize user-generated IP, fourth, de-risking AI and compliance, fifth, the unbeatable competitive moat, and finally, the exclusive licensing opportunity. Let's start with Section 1, the digital content crisis, a throttled industry. The sheer pace of content creation right now is accelerating way beyond human capacity. I mean, in China alone, there are 50,000 new AI-generated titles hitting the market every single month. But here's the catch. The infrastructure behind how platforms handle this intellectual property is fundamentally broken. Think about it. Every platform out there, from tiny startups to giants like Netflix, faces three massive bottlenecks. First, audiences are entirely passive. Take platforms like Real Short with 65 million active users, or Wattpad with 90 million. These users consume tons of content, sure, but the platforms rely entirely on internal teams to generate that IP. Why? Well, that leads to bottleneck number 3. There is zero automated royalty distribution. If a fan writes a brilliant spin-off on Wattpad, it can't be legally monetized without months of manual legal work. Add in bottleneck number 2, the fact that AI-generated content currently lacks the machine-readable provenance required by new laws, and you see the problem. Platforms are leaving a staggering amount of money on the table, simply because the internet's plumbing can't handle derivative works. So let's move to Section 2, the patented Libranch protocol, architectural security. Because this isn't just a shiny new app feature. It is a total foundational architectural shift. So the crucial point is exactly what Libranch actually does. Basically, it transforms any piece of digital content into a branchable tree. Imagine you're watching a show on a platform, and you decide you want to create an alternate ending, or maybe a cool spin-off. Libranch lets users create derivative branches of any digital content without ever altering the original piece. How? By using cryptographic hash chains and something called frozen references. This essentially locks in the exact version of the parent content, meaning the chain of custody becomes mathematically permanent. No confusion, no lost data. Think about how platforms operate right now. It is, frankly, chaotic. They use OpenAI models, but figuring out who owes who money involves all this manual, open-ended legal math. Libranch operates on a brilliant, simple principle. OpenAI closed math. It means AI is completely free to be used for creativity, generation, and scaling, but it is strictly locked out of the financial layer. The math that dictates who owns what and who gets paid, that is closed, deterministic, and fully automated right down at the database level. And this closed math concept is secured by 6 completely unbreakable invariants. It operates strictly at the database level, utilizing a single current tree structure and an append-only ledger, so history can literally never be erased. It's backed by SHA-256 cryptography, and every derivative work has a frozen reference to its exact origin. This allows for absolute deterministic mathematical attribution. Because of this airtight structure, there is absolutely zero manual overhead needed to track every single piece of user-generated content on a platform. Moving on to Section 3, monetizing user-generated IP, zero CAC revenue. Let's actually translate this architecture into real financial upside. We're looking at a system that unlocks a completely new revenue vertical for adopting platforms, with literally zero customer acquisition cost. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the deterministic distribution matrix. This whole thing executes automatically. When original root content is consumed, The author gets 100%, right? Standard stuff. But watch what happens when a user branches it. For that first branch, the new creator gets 80%, and the original author passively earns 20%. And it gets even better. If someone branches that branch, Adept 2, sub-branch, the split goes 70% to the current creator, 20% to the parent, and 10% flows all the way back to the root original creator, perpetually, forever. And the platform, of course, takes a clean 10 to 15% commission on every single transaction in this entire ecosystem. The return on investment here is pretty staggering. Imagine every single cliffhanger in a series instantly becoming a branching point. Millions of viewers can suddenly generate textual scripts, AI videos, or storyboards for the next episode. The system automatically tracks that engagement, essentially letting platforms A/B test entirely new narratives for their next season. You are transforming passive viewers into active IP generators, and you're doing it without spending a single dime on user acquisition. Now, Section 4, De-risking AI and Compliance, the regulatory shield. Because look, while massive growth is phenomenal, mitigating your existential regulatory risk is equally absolutely crucial. And right now, the regulatory risk surrounding AI content is huge. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because the clock is already ticking. In July 2025, massive, very public plagiarism wars started escalating between platforms like DramaBox and RealShort. The IP theft problem is incredibly real. Then, coming up in June 2026, we have the ITUT Standardization Plenary in Geneva, which is a massive deal for setting global tech standards. But the real cliff edge? August 2026. That's when strict enforcement of the EU AI Act's Article 50 officially begins. So what does Article 50 mean for platforms? Well, it requires full, machine-readable documentation of AI training data provenance. If you fail to comply, you're looking at fines up to 15 million euros, or 3% of your global turnover. Right now, major players like Viglu or even OpenAI models remain entirely exposed. They don't have a published compliance roadmap. Libranch's cryptographic hash chain architecture provides the exact automated documentation required to shield platforms from these massive fines. It literally serves as a plug-and-play regulatory shield. Which brings us to Section 5, the unbeatable competitive moat, patent domination. You might be wondering, how is this entire system defended? It's defended through an incredibly robust, globally recognized competitive moat. Over 500 patents. That's how many were exhaustively searched across the United States Patent Office, the European Patent Office, WIPO, the whole shebang. And the result? Absolutely zero blocking prior art. Nobody in the microdrama, user-generated content, or streaming space has successfully patented this kind of deterministic lineage tracking. And we aren't talking about a flimsy software copyright here. This is a PCT patent application featuring 41 claims. Crucially, it explicitly covers content data in the broadest sense. So it doesn't just apply to text, it legally locks down video, audio, 3D, and AI-generated content across the entire ecosystem. Claim 37 even allows platforms to add new interactive event types on the fly, while Claim 36 secures API integrations. On top of that, with 6 contributions submitted to the ITUT in Geneva, this protocol is on track to achieve standard essential patent status. Getting in and licensing this now before it becomes a formalized global standard basically guarantees the adopting platform the absolute best financial terms possible. Let's look at the final section, Section 6, exclusive licensing opportunity, locking out the competition. Because right here is the strategy for capturing an inevitable market shift before your competitors even know what hit them. The licensing model presented is highly strategic. It's structured as an upfront fee that immediately secures an 18-month exclusive window. For a solid year and a half, competitors are legally locked out of using this architecture. Paired with that is a running royalty. But here's the kicker. This royalty applies only to entirely new revenue streams generated by the user-generated branches. Adopting platforms don't have to share a single dime of their existing revenue. They only share a fraction of the new pie that Libranch automatically bakes for them. Plus, adopting this actually carries zero financial risk, thanks to a 2-step pilot path you can start right now. Step 1 is just a quick live demo where you can see the hash chains and the attribution engine functioning in real time. Actually, anyone can go view this working MVP right now over at livbook.ai. Step 2 is a full 8-week pilot integrated directly into a platform's own content to definitively measure user retention and IP conversion. And the upfront cost to run these pilot steps? Exactly zero. And this brilliantly illustrates the crossroad the entire industry is sitting at today. The technology works flawlessly, the patents are firmly filed, and those EU regulations are looming fast. The market is absolutely desperate for a deterministic, compliant way to monetize derivative IP. So what does this all mean? The only question left is, will you secure an 18-month legal monopoly on the future of digital IP generation, or will you let a competitor lock you out?